thing to understand is that desires are not desires and pleasures and needs are not bad in themselves. Their satisfaction is, necessary for our survival and development as a strong, wholesome human being. And desires are basically mechanism through which our body is spurred to action. So they are a source of movement and dynamism and our imagination as well as our creativity. But it is important that those desires are under our control, because when desires go beyond our control, they are no longer our desires. We actually are ruled by desire in this. Those desires. So that's why it's important to discipline our desires so that they are under our control and management. We can say yes and no to certain desires depending on our insight into their consequences, long-term consequences for our body, our soul, our morality, our spirituality, our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with our God, our relationship with the universe, our relationship with the other. So our self and self is a collection of desires. Some of them, and if this collection of desire is disciplined and it is subservient to our reason, which is subservient to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then this self is a nafs al-mutmainna, to the extent that it is naturally subservient to our rational will and the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if this collection of desires overwhelm our rational self and our and Shara Sharif, then this self become al-amara to bisu, nafs al-amara. So that's the difference between nafs al-mutmainna, and that's why desires are themselves good, but they become bad when they rule us rather than ruled by our rational will. And that's why these desires need to be disciplined, and the discipline is achieved through purification of desires and purification of heart. And one of the techniques which Islamic discipline of tasawwuf teaches us, and which Islamic morality teaches us, is through reducing our desire. The four basic desire needs: a need to eat, a need to sleep, a need to mingle with other people, and a need to socialize. These are, through different forms of worship, these are reduced so that desires are always subservient to our rational will and the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so that we are able to differentiate between immediate and long-term benefits, and always go for the long-term benefit, or the end of every action, beyond the immediate consequences. And this, as we said last time, depends on from believing the basic distinction between the dunya, this world as temporary, and the hereafter, al-akhirah, that which comes after the immediate world, after the nearest world, after the whatever comes after that, and which is actually everlasting. So that distinction. So when we talk about long term or awaqibul umur, and basically the real end bit is the hereafter, where our action will be judged, whether we tamed our desires according to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or we let them rule and destroy us in our human life. So human person, human societies, human groups are rational, more rational, less rational, irrational, to the extent that their desires, individual and collective desires, are subservient to their rational will and the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in societies and personalities and groups where desires actually rule the rational will, and desires rule the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those desires become sovereign, and then they destroy human life, human societies, in this world as well as in the world to come. Okay, so let's go back. So the four awarabi and tantahi quwwatul ghariza, so our rational faculty becomes so powerful that we are able to see beyond the immediate consequences, and we are able to see the long-term consequences of our action. And this is the